for your best friend. And you're committing to putting God as best as you can at the center of your relationship. No longer will it be his life or her life, it will be your life together. So a thriving, healthy marriage, this covenant, is built on keeping God at the center and friendship, and then thirdly, partnership. It's built on partnership. And partnership is something to keep in front of you, and together along the way, you're going to share a lot of joys in the journey of marriage, but you're also going to face many challenges. And the scriptures tell us to share with each other in your troubles and your problems. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. The scriptures also call us to pray for one another, encourage each other, delight in one another, forgive one another, listen to each other. And in the coming days, at times you will find yourself laughing, and the joy of your union will be evident. But there will also be days that you'll shed tears together. You'll shed tears. And in those moments, your union will be secure. Because you both are making a commitment. And more so, you're covenanting together. Marriage is about partnership in the good and the hard. And with partnership comes strength. Strength to face life's challenges. Strength to lift the other person up when they're growing weak. Strength to encourage each other's faith. Strength to invest in love rather than give in to self-indulgence. And strength to finish the race that God has set out for you. The gift that God has given you is that you get to run this together, hand in hand. Now, I asked Annie and Dylan to, along the way I did pre-marriage counseling with them, and I heard lots of their different stories, but their story of meeting, and so I asked them, hey, why don't you guys send me a little bit more detail of your story so I make sure I remember, and they actually both ended up sounding, and Dylan's was about a few sentences, and Annie's was a few paragraphs. Like, this is probably a snapshot into your marriage, perhaps. And I was going to tell the story in my words, but Annie wrote it so beautifully, I thought I would read the story because it's just so well articulated and funny, mind you, along the way here. Mostly aimed at Dylan, but we'll deal with that. So she writes, when I first met Dylan, I had just arrived at the hotel where our summer missions trip in India, summer missions team was meeting before going to India, except I didn't know it yet. See, I had just flown by myself for the first time and taken 3 wrong shuttles from the airport to try to get to the right hotel. Mind you, Dylan's version had, I saw this girl, she looked distraught, she looked like she didn't know where she was, I thought she was at the wrong hotel, and I thought you were glad that she wasn't at the wrong hotel at that moment. But anyhow, back to Annie, I had thought I had messed up again until I saw Roland, who I had known from a previous summer mission trip. I was so relieved when I saw him and getting over the trauma of airport shuttles that I barely remember even being introduced to Dylan. As our trip went on, I started really liking him. Sweet. I mean, I thought he was cute from the get-go, but I had told myself, like every other girl who goes on a missions trip, that I was not there for a guy. So I tried to ignore him. At one point early in the trip, I almost completely wrote him off as a terribly mean person. She didn't give me the details of that, but we were out at lunch, and somehow it came up that my real name is Ann. Actually, no, it does come up here, is Ann, even though everyone calls me Annie. So Dylan turns to me and says, hey, that's funny because you totally remind me of Bland Ann from Arrested Development, if you know the show. Even if you haven't seen that show, you can tell from the name that you would never want to be remind someone of anyone who's bland. I took it like a punch to the gut and fumed about being called bland for the next 3 hours, vowing to stop liking this guy and potentially avoid him for the rest of the trip. As I was sitting back at the hostel writing in my journal about Dylan and fuming still, he comes up to me and totally extinguishes my hate fire with one simple question. Hey, I like your voice. Want to lead worship with me? And just like that, some full flattery, I decided to give him another chance. Wow, that easy, huh? Later, when we were back in the States and dating, I asked him why I reminded him of Bland Ann of all people, to which he said, she's pretty in the show, and she's totally not bland. That's why her name is so ironic in the show. I'm like, he is going to be a good husband. And then she says, I still disagree with that, but it was a good answer at the time. Halfway through the trip, Dylan started being pretty obvious about liking me, and so I sought out my girl leader of the trip and asked her what I should do. She told me to guard my heart and treat him like any other guy, to basically try to stay away from him if that was too hard, which it was.